According to the National Institute of Drug Abuse 2014, in 2012, nearly 669,000 Americans reported using heroin. Out of those 669,000 Americans, 112,000 reported using heroin for the first time. This is a drastic number that has been on the rise since 2007. That means that heroin does not discriminate age, religion, gender, or economic status, and at the same time, it could bring short and long-term consequences, and at the same time, there's treatment for it. Now, I will inform you about the short-term effects of heroin abuse. Next, I will explain the long-term consequences of heroin abuse. And finally, I will discuss the treatments to take care of this disease. According to the National Institute of Drug Abuse 2014, one of the short-term effects is called a rush. For example, heroin is an opioid drug, and when a person consumes heroin and it enters the brain, it gets converted into morphine. And once it gets converted to morphine, it binds rapidly into the opioid receptors, and this causes a pleasurable sensation, a pleasurable feeling. And that's what is called a rush. Another short-term effect will be a depressed respiration. After several hours that an individual consumes heroin, he or she becomes drowsy. Now, when that person becomes drowsy, it has problems breathing, and this can cause, it can lead to a coma, and also it can lead to a permanent brain damage. Second, I will talk about the long-term consequences of this disease. One of the long-term consequences is addiction. According to Americana Center, 23% of the people who use heroin for the first time kept using it. So it becomes an addiction. For those people who keep using heroin, they fall into a stage called tolerance. In this stage, the body is asking for more and more and more of this drug, so that way it feels that first sensation that it felt when you first tried the drug. It's trying to feel that pleasurable sensation. Another long-term effect of this disease is called infectious diseases. And how this happens is, for example, the equipment that you use to consume or inject heroin, example needles, if you're sharing it with someone else, you don't know that that other person has HIV, hepatitis B or C, and that can be infected into your body by sharing the same equipment. Finally and thirdly, I will talk about the treatments for this disease. There's two treatments for this disease, which are called pharmacological and behavioral therapies. Behavioral therapies, for example, is when an individual has this addiction for a long time, and they need to go to a 12-step process according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse 2014. And these groups are called Narcotics Anonymous, and right there they meet people who they share their experiences with, and they also engage into social activities with them. Pharmacological therapies, one drug would be methadone, and that methadone is like morphine. It attaches to opioid receptors, but at the same time, it stops that craving for the drug. Now, in conclusion, heroin abuse does not discriminate anyone. It can affect anyone, but there's also treatment for it. And like my dad used to say, the best remedy for a drug addiction is to never use it.